Buenos dias, my Benji fans. That's right, we're back with another best of 3, this time featuring the Crucible hero, Benji the Piercing Wind. Now, Benji is not known for being that powerful in the Blitz format. However, he is a hero that can pose a bit of a difficulty for Levia, and that's because his whole ability and playstyle is centered around pushing through unblockable damage when it comes in at base, or not base, but attack 2 or lower. So he's all about trying to go wide with small attacks, push through unblockable damage, and Levia really doesn't like this because she wants to block with cards from hand so that she can pay the cost of banishing 3 from her graveyard to play her big attacks. So when Benji comes in with things like Harmonized Kodachi, Command and Conquer, E-Strikes, or Push the Points, sure, you can actually block those from hand, and you should do so heavily because you won't see that many in the matchup. But when he comes in for these smaller attacks in a row, like his Brandishes, Salt the Wounds, Belittle, Scar for Scar, Snatch, whatever it is, those things you cannot block with anything other than equipment, so you need to be very careful in that you don't just waste your opportunity to block some of his taller attacks, and that way you don't miss your chance to fill your grave and actually be able to return threat at all. Because the thing about Benji is that he does start with 17 life, so the more tall attacks, wide attacks you throw at him, the more likely he is to truly crumble. He does have some defensive tools in his kit like Flick Flax, Vapor Scene, Sinks, but his equipment doesn't block that heavily, so really if you can set up at least some semblance of a graveyard into this matchup, then Levia will be able to throw out enough damage, of course with her amazing Blood Rush Bellows, but even her endless Maws will be able to return quite a big threat into Benji. So it's really all about filling the graveyard when you can and making sure that you're not caught in an awkward position where you just haven't blocked enough and now you're stuck taking blood debt damage on top of the chip damage that he's pushing through to you as well. So with that, let's see how the best of 3 went. And kicking off with the die roll, we've got Ben featured on the left, myself, of course, featured on the right. And it looks like I did actually win this die roll here, which is absolutely fantastic into a matchup like Benji, because Benji can push through a lot of unblockable damage right from the get-go with the way his ability works, and also forcing out very strange blocks where he could potentially bait you with Kodachi swings as well. So always happy to go first into a matchup like this. And it is also fortunate that I have multiple ways in filling the graveyard if I wanted. I had the red barraging beatdown, or the route where I could have just played the Wrecker Romp to fill the graveyard with 2. However, the red barraging is just more guaranteed to pull off an attack that I actually want with no variance involved. If I played the Wrecker Romp, then I could have discarded the Boneyard, which the Boneyard is the key to put in Arsenal here over any other card in the starting hand because it's what unlocks really strong, very clean Blood Rush Bellow plays. So by leading with the barraging over the Wrecker Romp, yeah, I fill the graveyard a bit less, but I'm guaranteed to set up my arsenal with exactly what I want here. And going to go ahead and roll Scabskins here, mostly because I don't actually mind so much if I hit a 1. What I wanted was just to get the barraging in graveyard at all. But if I do hit the multiple action points, then I can go ahead, swing both Mandible Claws, and pull out some cards from Benji's hand that he most likely doesn't really want to block with. You can catch Benji on quite a few 2 blocks, or with a bunch of defense reacts. And if you wasted defense reacts on, turn 1 there with these claws, that'd be inefficient to block with defense react anyway. I'd be pretty happy with that. So that's kind of the line of thinking there. But already we're seeing here that it was already rewarded to go ahead and set up that Boneyard in Arsenal, because the Boneyard is what unlocks the beautiful cost curve of playing a blue pitch into Blood Rush, into drawing even just 1 more blue, into Claws, into the Boneyard. So I've already drawn the Blood Rush, so that line is already available, but it wouldn't look so nice if I didn't have that Boneyard in Arsenal here. So rewarded immediately for making that call. The rest of the cards in hand here are really pretty decent as well. I've got the blue pitch to get the Blood Rush started. I've got a Sigil to go ahead and refill some life after Ben is going to chip me down here. And of course, it also instantly fills the grave without having to actually block very inefficiently against Ben. So Sigil definitely pretty good in this matchup. Ben here is threatening the Mass Draw already, but the Whelming doesn't have Go Again. So basically I'm saying, commit snaps here or just waste this card draw. So yeah, he'll get more options for Arsenal, but really not all too worried about that. So sure enough, we'll go back to 20 on my end. And then kick off into a pretty strong turn here in that I can discard this Wrecker Romp on the Blood Rush, start with that blue pitch of the barraging, and really pop off. So sure enough, that's where we begin the turn here. And Ben definitely has a lot of defense reactions in the deck, so I'm not expecting the first Blood Rush to really push through the insane amount of damage I want, but it's definitely going to buy me some life lead again. Actually, funny enough, we're right back where we started here at 17 to 20, even though we are a turn cycle in. So leading off, the Blood Rush is going to draw me not amazing cards. They're just decent cards in that I'm really missing pitch. Looks like I drew 2 reds there in the Writhing and I believe another Boneyard, yeah. So I won't get the Claws swing off this turn, no matter how I want to pitch it. But I can at least return now with a Claw into Boneyard. So it's a 13 damage turn. It's nothing crazy, especially since I really, really want to burn through Ben's life as early as possible because he already starts on lower life. So the faster I can deal damage, the more on the back foot he has to play. I mean, just obviously it's how it works. So just coming in for 8 on the end of that Claws. The only good thing here is that I at least get to save the Boneyard Marauder and Arsenal for if I draw perhaps another Blood Rush here. It's not likely, of course, but I'm keeping the option open, and really there was just no other play anyway. I mean, I could have pitched both reds in for just the Claw Swing, but that's 10 compared to 13, which is what I pushed by going this route. I mean, you could do that to kind of just preserve Graveyard, but playing the Boneyard here, I do have to banish 3 as cost, but none of those cards had Blood Debt, so it's not like I'm actually ramping up the Blood Debt counter at all by playing the Boneyard there, so it was just a really safe option. Ben as well also lost some flick-flack value in that he didn't have the combo piece to block with, so that's nice. I did chip through 4 damage on that turn, but would you know it, I actually drew into another Blood Rush. So the whole idea here of actually keeping that Boneyard and Arsenal for a Blood Rush, well, it didn't pay off on the first one, but it is going to pay off in dividends on the second one here. Back-to-back Blood Rush, really, really powerful. It probably just would have been instantly game over if that first Blood Rush had actually hit the full 18 damage that I was hoping for. This is going to give more of a route for Ben to not just instantly lose on a double Blood Rush draw. But on his return here, he is going to go ahead and pull out Husk. And this is really because I know my turn is incredibly strong with Blood Rush, so I don't want to let him get that card draw off with Plunder or Mask or anything to refill Arsenal, just in case it's a defense reaction. So going to go ahead, commit Husk, cover up the fact that I want to push a huge amount of damage on this turn. And the other thing going my way here is that by pitching the Eye of Ophidia, I can craft my draws a bit, and sure enough, I peeped a Fate Foreseen and a Ghostly Visit on the top there, so definitely going to bottom those two, because I do not want to miss resources again on a second Blood Rush, because this is Blitz, so this is my last Blood Rush. There's only 2 in the deck, of course, so if I don't hit the resources on this Blood Rush, then I'm really going to be behind on the ability to present massive turns anymore, because if both my Blood Rushes miss double Claws into attack, why am I taking Claws to begin with? So I have a video just helping that dig, and sure enough, it digs me into another blue and an Endless Maw. So absolutely perfect draws there after bottoming those 2 reds on that Eye of Ophidia. So leading in with the just, sequence of Claws, and definitely going to end the turn out here on the Endless Maw swing as well. So we're looking now at a 21 damage Blood Rush play. So this is fantastic. It's above the 18 that I was expecting, just because I had for sure the Boneyard Marauder and Arsenal. But because of the blues that I drew there, I get to now push above the 18 damage curve and preserve the Boneyard Marauder and Arsenal. Now, since the Blood Rushes are gone, it's really not the best card to keep in Arsenal anymore, because it's not really fitting cost curves the way I want anymore, and it's pretty hard to play at the end of a Dread Screamer turn, because it's now going to require 6 cards in Graveyard to pay for the Dread Screamer into the Boneyard. So it's not the strongest card in Arsenal, but I definitely wanted to push the Endless Maw right now because it's, damage all at once. pushing for more damage on Ben's life total here and taking more cards out of his hand. So the one thing that the Boneyard is going to do in Arsenal here is perhaps fit cleanly into like a ghostly Scabskins play, or if I draw an all red hand, it can help me just cycle through that. So it's okay. It's not the great card it used to be when Blood Rushes were still in the deck, but we will just see how the game progresses here. Now, even though it was a great push last turn, one of the downsides in making Ben just skip his entire turn is that I didn't get any chance to block with cards and fill graveyard. So I'm stuck at 2 cards in graveyard here, which without any recursion pieces in play is really, really scary because I don't have an immediate way to just burn a card to get it in grave. So I'm forced to roll Scabs here in that if I do roll multiple action points, which I do, I can go ahead and lead with the Deadwood to at least fill grave a bit more. And I'm really hoping that I also discard a 6 to make the claws alive, but even if I didn't roll the multiple action points on the Gamblers, this is a pretty safe turn to just play the Deadwood. It wouldn't be fantastic just coming in for 6 and wasting all these cards in hand, but in this scenario, it's a little bit, actually just way too greedy to pop the Gambler's Gloves just to force Graveyard at 3, because I only have 2 Blood Debt, so it's really not scary if I have to take that hit. It was always going to be a Deadwood turn. The Scabskins just, make that action point equal 6 extra damage here, so very, very happy with that. And now I actually do get to clear out the Boneyard Marauder from Arsenal, which is pretty important, because like I said, it doesn't really fit how the rest of the game wants to play. I'd rather a stronger card in there now. So when I come in here, it's a 12 damage turn thanks to the Scabskin. So just really incredible on my end. And I'm getting to now Arsenal the Hungering Slaughter Beast, which is 7 damage. It's going to be more of a push than Boneyard. Pretty decent Arsenal card here. So in that I'll never miss Blood Debt now, because I know I've now got a piece that will always turn it off, and it's a bit of a stronger one than Boneyard. So poor Ben, he's got a 1-card play back into me, but since Husk is gone, I think he feels pretty comfortable in that Command & Conquer will actually do something here. But funny enough, Command & Conquer, I can either block with it, or in this scenario, let it hit, and it will still send a card to grave for me. Because I have this piece in Arsenal that I don't necessarily need. It's a decent card. It's not an amazing card. So if that gets sent to grave, I'm now going to be at the 3 cards I need to actually just play really aggressively now into Ben's next turn and at least force 1 damage, hopefully, which will close the game. So gonna let it through. Gonna just go ahead and now lead with a Dread Screamer, because the Dread Screamer here, of course, it needed the 3 in graveyard. So coming in now for 6 go again. This is pretty strong. Now Ben knows for sure that I don't have another Banish 3 in hand that I'm like looking to play, because I just cannot fill graveyard to that point. So he should be expecting here like a Ghostly Visit, or perhaps just a pitch into the claws. Or if he's really looking for it, he could expect the Doomsday. And sure enough, that is what we have in hand here, because my Blood Debt is now at 7. And I catch him there on a bunch of 2 blocks. So Levia is going to take down that game there pretty handily. Kind of strange in that I was a little bit scared even that I didn't have the closing power needed because the double Blood Rush was gone so early from the deck. But when a ninja deck gets on the back foot and they just miss out on drawing a bunch of defense reactions, they can get stuck with the 2 blocks, stuck with the fact that their equipment doesn't block very heavily, and just fold from consistent damage. So that's exactly what happened there. Now we're going to jump into game 2, and Ben is going first here because he just gets to squeak through the cheeky damage. So there's no reason for him not to do it. He doesn't want to do anything that's going to make me, or give me the ability rather, to block with cards from hand. That's absolutely what he doesn't want to do. So he's going to instead just lead in with something that chips damage, because I can't block from hand anyway. But I actually have a pretty incredible opening here in that I've found 2 of my recursion pieces in my first hand here. I get to start with the Howl into the Ghostly, coming in for 7, leaving a card for me to Arsenal, and on top of that, that's my recursion pieces now in play. So even though I can't block in this matchup, I'm very, very fortunate here to have seen the recursion pieces and just know that I'll always be able to on-demand fill by 1 with the Howl, and every time a Scabskins or action point comes through from Go Again, I will be able to toss in the Ghostly. So feeling really, really comfortable with my start here. I mean, you can't really get much better than finding your recursion pieces on turn 1. If you could do that every game, Levia would be insane. Insane. So Ben is going to cover up the full 7. I'm not gonna have a bigger turn than that. You know, it's just 7 damage. But it's really all about setting up the graveyard in the way I want it. And last thing to note there is I do arsenal the Hungering Slaughter Beast. So arsenaling an attack is always pretty key in Levia because it's going to guarantee a way for you to turn off Blood Debt when your hand otherwise couldn't do it. And Hungering Slaughter Beast is a decent one, especially when you have Ghostly Visit, in that it fits the cost curve of pitching a blue into Hungering and Ghostly. So you're always going to roll Scab Skins on a turn like that and potentially present 11 damage. So that's always really strong if that pays off. And it's also just decent in that it's a return for 7. It's also decent in that you can play it on a Blood Rush turn to come in for 9. Coming in for a 19 damage Blood Rush, pretty decent. But it's not as good, as much of a guarantee of a great 2-card hand as like an Endless Maw, or as much of a guarantee of a clean Blood Rush as like a Boneyard Martyr. It's just one of the decent middle ground options here. So on Ben's turn, he didn't really do anything too special. Because I got lower than him off the lead of those Kodachis, is pretty clean block on the Skullcap into the Snatch. So nothing too crazy. I do then very cheekily gain life back above him because of that Sigil. Sigil is going to then fill the grave to 3, so I can then banish the Hungering Slaughter Beast. And my hand really wasn't going to do anything better than that this turn because it was an all-red hand. So fortunate to have something pretty cheap to pay for in the Hungering there. Yeah, I do not turn off Blood Debt with that swing. But taking 2 here, really not the biggest deal, and it's going to let me then set up an Endless Maw in Arsenal. Endless Maw just becomes a much better 2-card hand than a Hungering Slaughter Beast does, because it takes out the variance in having to roll for Scab Skins to really try to hit high on the Ghostly and Hungering in the same turn. So feeling a lot better with how that Arsenal is now set up, but you know, it wasn't the biggest threat into Ben here, so Ben does get to now keep a larger hand to threaten me with, but it's really never something to be too afraid of if Benji has a big hand, because his damage is all about tiny little chip numbers, and that's what the threat is. It's not gonna present some crazy combo of damage when Benji's got like 5 cards aligned that just one turn kills you. It's all about the tiny chip damage over the course of the game. So sure enough, that's exactly what's happening here with what Ben's hand can do. It's just Kodachis into then some unblockable damage. But I think I'm disrespecting here the fact that the rest of his turn is unblockable, because I do want cards in grave. I've only got the 1. I do have a Howl set up, but then I'm leaving the potential open for missing on the Scabson's roll and not getting the Ghostly engrave to banish there. So the main issue that this hand is bringing to light is that I can't force the Blood Rush because of how I just didn't block on the Kodachis, because I have the 2 non-6s in a Blue Dread Screamer and a Reckless Swing. So what I really should have done there was just block one of the Kodachis with a Blue Dread Screamer and then force the Blood Rush, but made that mistake. You know, maybe it was just a bit of greed, thinking that there's going to be like a push the point coming at the end of this chain or whatever, but really, really punished for not blocking a Kodachi there. So feels bad because now I'm forced to Scabskins roll, because if I don't hit the double action point, I will not be able to fill the graveyard with Ghostly to actually get off this this turn of damage. Like, I just will have nothing I can do other than like a Howl into Ghostly for 7. I mean, and that's decent, but then I just wasted like my whole hand. So gonna roll Scabs, and I don't get what I need. So now this means if I do want a semblance of a turn, I'm actually forced to pop Gamblers here, just because it will fill a graveyard. So the Gamblers plus then the Howl, even if I just hit like a 2 or 3 to just get 1 action point, would still work out there for me to fill graveyard. So with that Gamblers, I'm now actually at 3 action points thanks to a 6. So this is a huge payoff. I still would have had a decent turn if I didn't get any extra action points there. Obviously, it would have been terrible if I hit a 1. But, you know, always loving when hitting a 6 means I can actually get off all 3 of those attacks. It feels amazing, puts tons of pressure on, and really shows the effectiveness of like the Banished Zone playables that Levia can have, because you just get to throw your resources into powerful attacks. So gonna lead here then with the Endless Maw, just to throw that Howl back into the Banished Zone as an extra recycle piece now. So coming in for 12 on the Endless Maw, because of course it couldn't miss on that first banish because there was a Hungering in there. So 12, my goodness, huge amount of damage. We're looking at like a Blood Rush amount of damage on this turn because of that Scabskins roll. So definitely some variance going in my favor here. And Ben forced to block even when he's got some lower 2 blocks there. So he is going to go ahead, block 11 on that 12, takes at least 1 bit of damage there. Caught him on a 2 block, so I know his blocks can't be that great anymore. And coming in now for just Claw for 3. This is going to break up the value if he tries to then block with like a combo card for the Flick Flack. The 3 is just going to be really inefficient there because he's not going to gain any benefit from the +2 block from the Flack. So it's just free damage I can throw into him here. And the Ghostly now coming in for 4. I'm also surprised here to see that he doesn't block with a combo piece because it would have covered up the full 4. But he does have Sigil to bring him back up, so that the damage dealt, still incredible, but it wasn't so much so that he was forced out of an entire hand. He still wants to keep some kind of threat here to return damage that to the point where my Husk is threatened. So coming in with the double Kodachi when I'm at 14 here, it's a bit scary. I really should learn my lesson from last turn about not blocking Kodachis. So this is what you see here in a Fate Foreseen on a Kodachi. That is such an inefficient block, but I'm trying to fill Grave at least a little bit, and now I'm at least live to the point where, because of Howl and the Fate and the Endless Maw, I would be at 3 cards in Grave, but my hand is actually a lot more awkward than that. I have an Eye of Ophidia, a Doomsday, and a Beast Within with a Blood Rush in Arsenal, and I can't immediately burn out the Eye. I can't immediately burn out the Doomsday. So I'm really in a bind here because I can't force anything with that Blood Rush. A Blood Rush normally on a hand like this would be fantastic because I'll just pitch a blue, force the discard on Beast Within, blocking with whatever that 3rd card was, but I can't do it in this scenario because we see those non-blocks really dampening what I want to do here. So I have to make the call here. What do I do with this hand? And I choose Scabskins, and I think this is it's hard. It's a hard choice. I think it's incorrect in that I should just look at that hand and try to find the best way to trim it down. And I think the best play there was actually to pitch for the Howl first. That way I can at least get one of the blues out of hand, probably the Eye of Ophidia, dig with my ops a bit. Then it reduces my blood to 1. Then I can safely roll Scabskins. And if I hit the multiple action points, then I can burn that last resource on Ghostly, then pitch my next blue for the Blood Rush. And at least if I hit a 1, like I did on the Scabskins, then I'm taking the 1 less blood debt, and I've still trimmed one of the non-block blues out of my hand. So that was definitely the right line. I went a little bit too aggressive there on just rolling Scabs first. But hitting that 1, of course, going to hurt my game plan. So Ben then gets to return with a full hand. Now, luckily, he didn't have Arsenal there to make it anything too crazy. He's also stuck, of course, with the whole Benji situation, in that most of his damage is really little. But because I was below the threshold of life where Husk, could stay in play at all, I do have to just chuck it at something this turn. So feels bad. I'm covering up just 2 damage. But at least it's trading for a Snapdragon's piece because I do block a hit effect that he really wanted in that Soul Bead. So it's a bad trade, but it's not the absolute worst trade. What is the worst case scenario happening now, though, is because I messed up on that Howl, I'm forced into the exact same attempt that I had to make last turn in burning out these blues from my hand so that I can actually play the Blood Rush here. And worse than that, I actually just botched it again, in that I should have led with the Howl from Beyond, but I didn't learn my lesson. I went with Scabskins first, and if that one hadn't hit, I really, really would have been feeling the pain. So in retrospect here, very, very nice that we're seeing these misplays happen twice in a row. I will learn from them. I will not make them again. I shouldn't be making them already, honestly. But there we go. I do pay for the Howl. I have a Ghostly in hand, so now I'm going to be able to keep the Ghostly that's in Banished for later, and just play this one out of hand and basically guarantee, actually 100% guarantee, that now when I pitch the Doomsday for the Blood Rush, it will hit the Beast Within. And on top of that, the Avophidia set up a Hungering Slaughter Beast red on top of my deck, so I know for sure that the Beast Within is going to hit that. I won't take too much damage, I'll just take the one, add the Hungering to hand, and that is a guarantee now that as long as I draw some resources on the Blood Rush, I will be able to Claw, and then Hungering for 19 damage on the Blood Rush, on the back of 7 damage coming from the Howl Ghostly. So 26 damage turn if I draw resources here. Because really all I need is 1 blue. The other one can be a red, in that I will guaranteed be able to pay for the second clause with the blue plus a red pitch for the Hungering. So as long as I draw 1 blue on the Blood Rush draws here, we're looking at that full 26 damage. And I do think I just peaked a blue Convulsions, I'm pretty sure, in that hand. So here we go. Poor Ben will not be able to weather this storm. He's only got the 2 block left on his equipment. He doesn't have a direct in Arsenal or anything. And I've also caught him on a 2 block. So, most decks wouldn't be able to survive 26 damage turn this late in the game anyway, but Ben definitely can't, from how this turn is going to play out in this state of the game. So just going through all the motions here, leading now with that first claw into the second claw. Ben should know, he should have remembered now from that Beast Within that I for sure will be coming in with at least 9 here. Looks like I drew even an extra blue to go ahead with a Hungering Slaughter Beast. And just like that, that is going to be the best of 3 series versus Benji and Ben.